So cars were recently taken out of the game for auto coverage and won't be back for a few weeks, but Peely says if you don't drop a like, they'll never return to the world of Fortnite. So yeah, despite the cars actually being taken off the island for this auto coverage that Epic Games stated will last a few weeks, we actually have some interesting leads to go over today in terms of when the cars will be re-added, what this post actually means considering it wasn't a Fortnite status post, rather so on the Fortnite game Twitter, and even how to drive cars once they're implemented, as literally every single nitty-gritty stat has officially been leaked. And we also have gameplay showing what this will look like upon driving them, so make sure you're sticking around and watching the full video today if this sounds good to you. I know I may say this a lot, but trust me, you guys don't want to miss anything today, considering cars may be upcoming a lot sooner than you may think, perhaps even in the next 24 to 48 hours. Quickly before we dive into all that juicy information, however, make sure to slap code FriendlyMachine in the Fortnite item shop, as all the funds I earn from this, from you rocking the code as I earn a percentage, get reinvested back into the channel to gift more of you guys each and every day, with me striving to meet the 5 daily gift limit with every 24-hour period that passes. So if you potentially want to receive a gift in the near future, simply make sure you subscribe to the channel and comment your Epic Games ID down below, so that way perhaps I can get around to sending you next your very own gift. Even if you're V-Bucks rich, don't need a gift, make sure to hit the big red button regardless, as 70% of all eyes on screen right now aren't subscribed to the channel. And what are you doing? If you're watching all the content, getting it recommended, obviously because YouTube knows you're enjoying it, and aren't subscribed, I couldn't answer that question myself. Okay, so before we actually go into how to drive cars or every stat that's been leaked, or coding basically describing how this will be, alongside showing gameplay of it actually being performed in Unreal Engine 4, we need to go over what this tweet actually means from Epic Games, basically announcing that the cars or all vehicles basically have been taken off the island for auto coverage and will be then re-implemented in the next upcoming weeks. Many people are speculating they won't wait a few weeks in our human time, or in the normal world should I say, considering this would land very near the release of Season 4 that's currently, despite expecting to get extended, is August 27th. At the time of me recording this video, it's July 26th, one day away from being a month away from the release of the next season, if it doesn't get extended, however, which is very unlikely, and for that reason a few weeks in normal time, or in the real world anyways, would not only kill the hype as it's at its peak now for cars being added as this new transportation vehicle, but would be weird for them to add considering it's so close to the release of the next season that they may as well just add them in the next one, being Chapter 2 Season 4. For this reason, considering this was a very important update but shown in the form of a no sweat insurance kind of notification or alert in more of a laid back manner, somebody looked at this and analysed it very closely in terms of comparison to other Fortnite updates and what social media they actually post them on or account, and stated the following over on Reddit. As many of you might know, Fortnite's official Twitter made a post mentioning the cars gone for a couple of weeks, and obviously there has been outrage, people complaining all over Twitter, but I think I may have a theory about all of this. First of all, it's the Fortnite account that made a post, not Fortnite Status, and Fortnite Status's sole purpose is to tell people about delays and issues, so they should be the one to do it, just like the device event, and here is the delay that obviously Fortnite Status put out for that, just for reference. So the delay doesn't seem to be an issue. Also, the Fortnite News tab on their website doesn't mention anything. Second of all, it isn't Fortnite making the post. They're acting on the role of No Sweat Insurance, which is an in-game company situated at Lazy Lake, not a real one. If there was an issue with an upcoming feature, they wouldn't joke around with acting like No Sweat. They even made a few jokes about typos in their post. Third of all, time is different in the Fortnite world than in ours. A full day in Fortnite is around 30 minutes, which would make a few weeks in Fortnite about a real world day, which we're also going to be mentioning more about in just a second, obviously determining the soon release of cars. Fourth of all, with all vehicles gone, they would auto-complete the Cars at Retail challenge, which hasn't been mentioned so far. They even completed the Whirlpool challenge for Aquaman anyways, and obviously the free reward we could earn, and that was only gone for less than 1 week. He then goes on to state, this leads me to believe that the Fortnite post was actually a roleplay teaser. They made a message coming from the fictional No Sweat company that hinted at all vehicles being gone for a few weeks, in-game weeks, obviously with each day as previously mentioned lasting 30 minutes, and obviously that means then in the upcoming human days, cars will be upcoming as hinted at through this post subliminally. So in terms of applying this next few weeks in quotation mentioned in the tweet to our actual game right now, it would make sense for them to add cars tomorrow, or even at the time of you watching this video they may be added on July 27th, 2020, as this is the next stage of the water receding, and even despite us now in this stage prior to the water receding on July 27th, most of the areas around the map, the terrain of that above water are connected at least through some certain points or conjoinments, obviously like bridges or certain pathways / roads. Even with these minimalistic connections of the above water terrain only being in certain like one spots over bridges and stuff, this isn't an issue considering also shown in the Chapter 2 Season 3 splashdown or cinematic trailer, cars can be seen obviously going through small puddles / troughs of water that real cars could obviously then survive through without the engine shutting down or the car simply not working anymore. Now that you guys have got this insight, and speaking of the cars not working upon going into certain depths of water, which we will find out at a later date when cars are officially added, the Epic Games I'm guessing are going to be implementing at some point in the near future, let's now go over how you actually can make them work and all the features we'll be able to utilise when driving them or making them work officially in-game. First of all, this season, I don't know if you've noticed, but the gas stations have been revamped multiple times to suit this new fueling up vehicle, being the cars, and perhaps even helicopters or boats when they're re-implemented also needing fuel. In terms of fueling up the cars, however, this is what it will look like that data miners were able to determine from getting fuel up animations out of the coding from not only the petrol pumps that will look like this upon us actually going to interact with it and then put it into the side of a vehicle to fuel that up, but also from using a jerry can which simultaneously can be fueled up from having it in our inventory when going to a petrol station and a petrol pump. Speaking of this portable fuel method, you may have already seen the props for them that we can't currently pick up scattered around the map in several areas. Most specifically that I find them in anyways is this shelf on Holly Hedges behind the flower store. In terms of what they look like in-game, the icon was actually updated for these in the 13.30 downtime update, and in the last 24 hours data miners have been able to determine what it will look like when we go to pick one up or have them already picked up in our inventory to then actually fuel up our cars or put fuel in them from said gas pumps at petrol stations. Despite the fuel animation at the petrol pumps being leaked but not them being leaked in game in terms of how we'll interact with them, the only other things to mention regarding this fuel up method is that the gas stations are located around the map in every location on screen, and the reason I say this is because, well, they've not only taken out this feature so when we enter a vehicle even in battle labs we cannot see where they'll be located to memorise this before cars are then added back into the game, even just as props if not drivable, and upon going to a gas pump it seems we'll be able to interact with the full thing, obviously with it glowing yellow when we're close enough to then fuel up our cars. In terms of how the cars will actually look when driven in game, we can expect them to look nothing less than what you're seeing in the background made on Unreal Engine 4, and for those that don't know what that is, UE4 or Unreal Engine 4, it's basically the engine that Fortnite runs on in itself, which is why it looks very similar but obviously not exact to the exact feel of Fortnite. This was made by Sizzy Leaks, Nearby Leaks and also Swan Leaks as a joint effort who all will be linked in the video description down below if you want to check them out. Despite a lot of locations changing to complement the appearance or availability of driving cars in Fortnite, over the past few weeks there's one thing that's remained constant. The posters obviously declaring or showing us the types of vehicles that we'll be able to drive, but not every single one. If you guys didn't know, we'll be able to drive 6 vehicles, that being all the ones shown throughout the posters, obviously named on them too, that we can currently still see in games scattered around gas stations or bus stops, and the taxi cabs and police cars that finally will be re-added, which were actually not in game for the longest time considering, well, they were taken out due to the Black Lives Matter protests and all the controversy surrounding policing through this entire movement. Despite there being 6 type of car vehicles we'll be able to drive, they fall into 4 categories, all of which are on screen right now in terms of their size and other stats, and obviously the subtotal spawn rates and such at the very bottom, meaning that these are actually going to be quite scarce considering only 10 can spawn in a single match, and I'm guessing like the helicopters, they also won't spawn in Team Rumble as this would seem kind of unfair in terms of an advantage. In terms of finding cars that are drivable around the island, one of the 10 I definitely recommend landing at the gas stations or being the first there anyways, so you perhaps can get in a vehicle and drive off from all the conflict, or take it on, clear out the area and then take the car for yourself. Be aware though that a lot of people will have came to the same conclusion as what I just mentioned, so there may be a lot of people landing at gas stations more so than ever before when they go live in Fortnite, so we can drive them around any mode. And speaking of the modes, there will also not only be the normal modes with cars in, but specific limited time ones surrounding just driving vehicles. The first one, as you guys may or may not know, is the Chrome LTM, and this is what it looks like upon loading in and the countdown starting for us to reach the finish line, which also will look like this on the map overview, and this when we go to enter it, the first person to do so obtaining a victory royale. In this mode, like Mario Kart, to obviously outsmart our opponents or surpass them in any means necessary, we'll be able to use the following items to aid us through this process. The other LTM, however, is called Nitrogen, and this has perhaps a more interesting description. The description reads as follows, as Hypex found in the coding: earn stars by delivering passengers in a taxi, which also confirms the taxi cabs will be a drivable vehicle. Bonus stars can be found. Limbs also cause teams to drop stars. First to collect the target number of stars wins. If you get knocked, you'll respawn in a new taxi. Meaning perhaps we start out already spawned in one in this particular limited time mode. In terms of rewards or a challenge set surrounding these, like we saw for Air Royale when this particular airplane vehicle had an event surrounding it, like the cars will most definitely when they're added, considering they're the most hyped thing of this season yet to be upcoming. Firemonkey only found the following in the files to do with punch cards as an incentive for driving vehicles, not any challenges or free rewards. In the 13.30 update came the addition of a new / unfinished or encrypted punch card relating to cars. Upon further investigation, it appears this will be for driving teammates around. It will be activated when it's decrypted / added into the files. And obviously this particular Nitrogen mode involves us playing with other players, whether they're on our Epic Games friends list or not, which will make this an easy completion.